Everybody, 12 noon or thereabout, actually a couple minutes after East Coast time. It's Carm Capriato interrupting your lunch here on the East Coast and your second cup of coffee out on the West Coast. I have Hunt Demarest with me from Par Mellis and Associates. Hunt is a CPA and been on the show before, and we hooked up this morning to talk about what a CPA's perspective can be for our businesses today and what's going on with COVID-19. This is our third noonday broadcast. Didn't think I was going to be here today, but once I talked to Hunt this morning, I realized that we needed to come up with this because there's a lot going on. It's moving faster than the speed of sound, right, Hunt?
It is. Really, it is.
And so we're here to talk about the SBA Disaster Loan Assistance Program, and we're also here to talk about the Stage 3 proposal from the Treasury Department, which constantly is in a state of movement. But we've got answers and solutions that you don't have. There's a lot that you don't have to go through alone. Yet we are going to give you whatever we know is to be true today. And Hunt has agreed to come back if he finds out anything. And the reason Hunt is here is because his client is made up of mostly shop owners. So he's got a big stake in the success of our automotive aftermarket. So Hunt, thanks for being here. I'm going to remind everyone that we've got the disasterloan.sba.gov URL down below. We're also going to do some screen sharing. And I'd like to turn it over to you, Hunt, and tell us what we should know so far.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks for having me on, Carm.
Yep.
Yeah, like Carm says, I mean, one of the reasons that we are so, interested in this, and specifically the automotive industry, is we work with about 500 shops on a monthly basis all across this country. So, really for the last week or so here, I've just been talking to shop owners every day, just trying to give out information, whether it's a pointer on what to do, on how to keep control of their guys, or really just kind of trying to, tune out some of the noise that a lot of people are hearing. One of the big things that everyone is talking about is, hey, how do I have cash? Because anytime that there's a downturn, especially a downturn like this, cash is the most important thing to have. For those that are fortunate enough that already have existing lines of credit or existing cash in the banks, it's maybe not as much of a concern. But this SBA disaster relief program that they've come out with is really for those that don't have anything else. And so what Carm did is he posted a link here that'll get you onto this website. We'll get into what that website looks in a little bit, but let's just kind of go into what this disaster relief loan is here for. And so if we scroll down a little bit on there, Carm. So here I want to highlight there the SBA economic disaster loans offer up to $2 million in assistance.
I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to highlight that for you, man, right there.
So this is a ton of money. This is what they announced, I guess it was probably about a week and a half ago, where they're going to release $50 billion to the SBA to be able to give out to small businesses. As you guys have already seen, small businesses are the ones that are being the most hurt by some of these sanctions that they're putting on. And this was in direct response to what they're going to do. Just like a lot of things that you've probably been hearing on the news, they came out and announced the $50 billion. And I already had people calling me and they said, well, how do I get that $50 billion? We didn't know. A lot of this stuff was coming out on Monday of, hey, this is how the program is going to be administered. This document here that I share with Carm was actually from a banker that I deal with for other SBA loans. And he says, we don't even know how this is going to be administered. And that was as of Monday. Monday night, all this information came out. It came out that it's going to be dealt directly with the SBA. You're not going to be going through a lender. It's going to be going directly with the SBA. There is a website that they have set up to do all of this. This is for people out there that don't have access to any other available capital. There's some verbiage in here. I think, let's see. Does it say it on here? It might be a little bit higher. I mean, really the point of this is because you can see the interest rates on here are 3.75. I mean, 3.75% is incredibly low. What they really don't want people to do is the people that don't need this to go out and take this. I don't think that's going to be the case for anyone that's on here or really joining this. People that need this money and they need it now. And one of the big things that I say for a lot of people is there's probably some uncertainty. Do I need this money? Hey, you know what? I think I can weather the storm. I would really probably look at trying to get this money, even if you were unsure if you needed it or not. The worst case scenario, you get this money, stuff starts to go back to normal, and you repay it back. It's much better to get in line to get this stuff first if you can.
I always think about taking a loan out. You got to pay it back.
Yeah.
And if you're not in a great financial position right now, you have to really think this through hard. Even
hmm
though the SBA is going to guarantee it, I find that if you don't have a decent a set of financials to provide and some great data, you may not be able to qualify, Hunt.
So it really depends. I mean, the positive aspect about the SBA, and I took a look at the application isn't meant for an accountant to fill out. They did a pretty good job of doing it towards the end consumer, but you're exactly right. I mean, this isn't free money. There's going to be something to be paid back, and there's going to be an impact on that financially for sure.
Okay, so SBA is an absolute option for our shop owners out there.
For sure, yeah.
Now, the Treasury has stepped up to the plate, and I know it's been very nebulous in the last few days. They've
hmm
announced the stimulus package, but I think we're getting a little bit more crystal clear.
hmm
Do you want to go back to that disaster assistance website? You want to
Yeah, let's
show
take a
that?
look at that website. And so really there's three pieces on here that are important. We got the eligible areas, we got apply online, and we got check application status. Now this is a website that's been around forever because any sort of natural disaster, whether it's flood, whether it's tornadoes, these disaster loans are available. Obviously not to the scale that we're seeing with COVID-19, but you will see that eligible disaster areas is going to include all types of disasters. So the first thing that anyone needs to do is they need to go on and need to see if their area is eligible right now to get these loans. If
And
you
that's
click,
a key. I don't
yeah.
believe every state is on this yet, right?
And so it's not just by state, it's also by county. And so
Okay.
there's a number of states out there. Like just this morning, I was working with a client that's in upstate New York. Some of the counties around New York City are impacted. A lot of the other counties are not. When I first did my webinar for my clients on Wednesday, there was only about 10 states on there. Every single day, they're adding states, they're adding counties to this. And so if you don't qualify right now, just keep this website bookmarked and keep going back and checking into it.
Yeah, this is a
Um,
moving target. I mean, every single day, the rules, the parameters are changing.
mhm. Yeah, and like I said, it's not just a state by state. You could be in a certain part of the state and you're eligible, and someone 10 miles over that's in another county might not be eligible. And so if you click on that eligible disaster area there, Carm, you'll actually be able to see because you'll actually be able to search that by state and county to figure out if you're eligible for it. So right there.
Let me see if I can zoom in on that even more to bring this up.
And so you
Yeah,
can go down
okay.
through each of the individual things. The best way to check on this, though, is just select your state, select which county, and see if you're eligible. It'll
Yeah,
say
so
what open incidents are there.
there's a lot more behind here. There's 9 pages here. There's
hmm
obviously some agricultural stuff going on, but
Yeah.
yeah, there's 9 pages. You could probably do state and county. You're right,
hmm
and filter that and determine it. But if you're not eligible today, you could be eligible tomorrow.
If you're not eligible right now, you could be eligible in 10 minutes. Just like anything that's coming out for this, as this stuff is changing every single day. Just like you said, Carm, hey, we've already talked about this yesterday. Why do we need to keep on talking about it? Because this stuff is changing, right? We're getting clarification on it.
Yeah, yeah,
Sometimes we're bringing up more questions, on
yeah.
this type of things. Just a changing 24-hour news cycle, really.
Yeah, it's a moving target. And I asked Hunt because he is a CPA for over 500 shop owners, and he is there to help them as he learns and he continues to stay in the deep end of the pool with this for both the Treasury piece and the SBA. I said, hey, when you get something that is really important, we're going to open up a Carmcast slot and we're going to have you on. So
Mhm.
stay tuned to this channel, everyone, as Hunt and helps us all out. Now, what do you know about the Treasury piece?
So the Treasury piece, we had one bill that, some people have been talking about, the original funding bill that kind of got passed through. I believe it was yesterday. That piece had some information in there about the expansion of the FMLA, had to do with paying employees guaranteed sick time. It also expanded it to a lot of small businesses. One of the things that, anytime this stuff comes out, is this is the government coming out with directives. It's not very clear, and we don't know how a lot of it's going to be administered. And so anytime that you see something like that, it takes a day or two to get questions clarified. The AICPA, which is the Association of Certified Public Accountants, or American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, will actually go back to the government and say, hey, put this in terms that we can, then authorize. Who's it going to affect? Who's it not going to affect? And how do we do this? Now, this that you have up on the screen right here is really what a lot of small businesses right now, especially shops, are looking for. I want to pay my guys. I need to figure out a way to pay my guys. And this is exactly what this is doing right here. Eligible borrowers, 500 employees or less, which means everyone here watching is going to be eligible for this. And then what it is they're giving out loans for 6 weeks of payroll. I mean, it's exactly what people are saying, hey, I have enough work here right now, but I'm not sure if I'm going to have enough work here next week or in 2 weeks or in 3 weeks. Really, that's the biggest uncertainty is how long is this going to last, right? Are we going to go back to normal next week? I don't think anyone thinks that. Are we going to go back to normal in a month? We really don't know. But what the government's coming out and doing is it's giving a loan to say, hey, we at least know that you're going to be funding here to be able to pay your employees for 6 weeks.
It's a hell of an offer. But again, remember, everyone, it's a loan.
It's a loan.
Do you have any idea the term of this?
So if it goes along with the other disaster loans, they say up to 30 years. They haven't come out with any guidance on who qualifies for what repayment period. Usually most of the SBA loans are, 30 years is the max that they do. And we almost only see that for commercial real estate. They're kind of just in new territory here on what they're going to do.
Got it. Okay. And we have to be very conscious that this is Treasury versus the other thing we were talking about was SBA.
Mm-hmm.
And this Treasury thing is going to change all the time. In fact, I think they're talking some FMLA law rule changes, right?
Correct. Yeah. And then one of the see right below where you highlighted, it says the lender. And so it's kind of, it's kind of an ominous thing. U.S. financial institutions. To me, that reads like that they're going to give this money to banks, and then banks are actually going to administer it on a local level.
Yeah.
Versus the SBA one that we were talking about before, there's going to be no banks involved. There's going to be no banker involved. That's 100% between the business owner and the SBA itself.
Smart to have a great relationship with a banker, your banker. And actually pick up the phone and say, hey, what do you know about the Treasury thing?
Yeah. How do I get on the list? What can I start doing right now?
And remember, this was called Stage 3 proposal. A proposal, it doesn't say it's locked or done.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure how I got a copy of this, my friend, but I have it. I have it. And so remember, we're not the experts, and I don't want this to be misinformation to anyone, but we're here, hopefully showing you what's around the next corner. Mm-hmm. For possibilities to sustain your business. I talked to a lot of people in the last 3 days, and they say business isn't bad. We've, dropped their keys off. We're not touching their car. We're having a touchless experience. Things have to roll. And, we may not be as hurting as normal, but if it gets to the point where you have to make some layoffs, these kinds of loans may sure help sustain your business. Who wants to lose some phenomenal employees, team members because of this? It would be a crime to lose top talent.
I mean, and really what I would recommend here is even if you don't think that you need this, go through the process and see what kind of terms and see what kind of money they're offering here. Depending on how long this goes, the government could run out of funding for these specific programs. If they allocate $300 billion and they have more people than they think apply for this, there could be a position where down the road, there's not money earmarked for this anymore.
Yep.
You'd much rather have the money and not need it than be sitting there with, no work and guys looking to feed their families and themselves and not having any money for them.
Absolutely. Hey, look thank you for going over this. We don't have all the answers, but if you stay tuned to this channel, my own channel here, Hunt and I have committed to bring you as much information as possible. Now, the other thing from an accountant's perspective, we did our think tank yesterday, and we talked about sustaining your business, but Hunt, you and I this morning talked about, how to help your customer really think through the sustainable business model. And you told me something really really great. You said, Carm, I've got to convince my clients to make 2 columns.
Mm-hmm.
Can you go over
Exactly.
that?
Yeah, and so really we need to make 2 columns. The first column is what we need to pay, and the second column is other things that should be paid at some point, right? We need to focus on column 1 right now. What are the essential items that we need to pay to make sure that our business is still in operation? Everything else falls into the second column that will get paid eventually, but it's not mission critical to do the day-to-day business. I have a lot of people talking, hey, I got bills, I got vendors calling for bills. As far as I'm concerned, unless it's essential to do business right now today, we need to hold that off as much as possible. Every other business is going to be in the same position, if not worse than what you are. And so we need to make sure that we're utilizing our money efficiently.
Yeah.
One of the
And,
biggest things that you talked about before is, what about our workers' comp? What about our liability insurance? That's something that can be expensive for a lot of shops. That is one thing that needs to be paid. The reason I say that is that question came up this morning when I had a shop call in. And he said, I talked to my insurance agent. My insurance agent insured me that I could probably get away with not paying that for a couple months. I don't feel comfortable with that. I cannot recommend that anyone does that.
yeah, especially insurance. It
No.
would be a crime if you let a policy lapse. And
Mm-hmm.
to me, that would be in the must pay column.
Mm-hmm.
Now stop and remember, everyone who needs to pull their accounts receivable in,
Mm-hmm.
which happens to be the shop's payables,
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be a lot of pressure. And, this
Mm-hmm.
whole line of credit thing is how people end up floating their business.
Mm-hmm.
So, people that you owe money to may have to go out and borrow and just in order to float to pay their bills and to pay their people. So remember, this is a trickle up and a trickle down issue that we currently have.
Mm-hmm.
But your suggestion is survival.
Yeah.
Is
100%.
yeah,
I mean,
survival.
cash is king at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I was just like we were talking this morning, Ally Bank has actually came out and extended all payments. Now they do mostly auto loans and stuff like that, but they've extended all payments for 3 months. So 3 months, no payments. I'm recommending my clients contact their bank if they have large loan payments and say, hey, what are my options here? What is your policy? How are you going to do this? I've had some banks that have said, hey, you know what? We don't have an official plan yet, but it's going to be put into place. I've had other banks say, you know what, you need to pay interest only. Once the dust settles, we're going to renegotiate this. Get ahead of this. Call out, see what your options are, see what you can do.
Well, look at thank you. I mean, we can go into some really fine details about cash on hand, but now it's kind of too late. You've either built your nest egg or you haven't.
Mm-hmm.
Collecting your money, your AR, I know big as far as the advice that you would give your clients, and don't spend anything that is non-essential.
Really?
No,
Exactly.
don't spend any money for any reason. Protect your business, protect your people, protect your market. We're here. Thank you so much. We don't want to go too long so that if we interrupt your day again with some other great information, you'll hang with us. Now, don't forget, this will be on Facebook over the weekend. I will throw this broadcast up on my page on the website called Carmcast. So any of the Carmcasts that we've done forever since we've done this, especially now the last 3 days of COVID-19, you'll be able to watch them. I looked back at a few of them and I realized some really good and awesome information that we've been able to share, especially from the people that I've had on. Hunt Demarest from Parr Mellis and Associates, who absolutely knows our business with 500 shop owner clients around the country. Thanks for coming on, man. And we expect an update whenever you believe
Of
you've got
course.
something great for us. Okay, man?
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much, Hunt.
Thank you.